Okay. I'll get this meeting started. Mayor Fowler is unavailable this evening, so I'll be the MC for the evening. I'll call the meeting to order, and I've asked Mr. Morrison to do the invocation and Chief Judge to do the pledge. So, Morrison. Thank you, times two here. We'll take a roll call.
Honorable Mayor Fowler, Honorable Councilman Bilbrey,
Present.
Honorable Councilman Graves,
Present.
Honorable Councilwoman Hawkins,
Here.
Honorable Vice Mayor Hill.
Present. Just go down the agenda. We got agenda item number 1, consider approval of the agenda as presented. I'll take a motion in a second.
I make the motion. Second.
Motion and second for the agenda. Any discussions? Hearing none.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Motion carries. Now, item number 2, consider approval of minutes of the meeting held March 12th. Was disseminated in our packet and discussed at work session. Motion and second.
Make the motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Motion passes. Item number 3, consider approval to suspend the reading of ordinance 708-24. Mr. Morrison?
It's just suspension of the reading. We will give a brief synopsis of these, but this prevents us from having to read them word for word all the way through.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Consider a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Mr. Bilbrey, second by Mr. Graves. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Motion passes. No reading. Item number 4, the floor will now be open for the second final reading of ordinance 708-24. And consider approval of the second and final after that floor being open. So we'll suspend and open at this point in time. Mr. Morrison, before we go forward, do you want to give a quick overview?
Sure. Increasing miscellaneous revenue. This is for a PD vehicle that's damaged and insurance paid for it for the individual that struck the vehicle. $17,000. That's a revenue increase. Increased general fund ARP for Big Mac Drive by $38,300. That's using some more of the ARP money that we had. Those are 2 revenue increases. To offset those, there are 2 increases in expense. One for PD vehicle repair for $17,000. One for money in, money out. Next, we're going to decrease general fund balance by $121,000. Part of that is to increase admin legal fees by $5,000. Increase parks capital outlay by $40,000, and increase PD capital outlay by $76,000. Those 2 increases in capital outlays are for the additional vehicles council approved to purchase. That is a total net deficit of $121,000. It'll be hitting general fund balance, but we will not be purchasing vehicles next year. There's a decrease in admin regular salaries by $30,000 and a decrease in admin retirement by $2,600. That was originally money that was put in to account for hiring a fire chief. We went ahead and put those items in the actual fire department, so we're going to increase fire pay by $30,000 and increase fire retirement by $2,600. That's a net zero change.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. With that being said, we'll now open the floor for Any discussion? Seeing no one come forward, I'll close that and consider approval of second and final reading of this ordinance 708-24 to amend the 23-24 budget. Do I have a motion and a second?
I make the motion.
Mr. Bilbrey.
Second.
Second by Mr. Graves. Any discussion? No discussion? Take a roll call.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Item number 4 passes. Number 5, consider approval to award the tennis court resurfacing. Let me just restart. Consider approval to award the tennis court resurfacing project to someone. Mr. Phipps is not here
take
tonight.
this.
You want to take that one?
I will. So we bid the resurfacing of the tennis court. That has only received one bid. That is from Copeland DRP for asphalt pave, stripe, and net post for $74,425. We had originally budgeted about $50,000 to do tennis court work, so this is about $24,000 over. There is no undercutting, no fence work, and not responsible for access to site damages are the noted exceptions. I do have some pictures that I went and took today. I'll try to get these to pop up. This is being a little slow tonight. I did send these to council today. So the pictures may be too much for it. That may be what's messing it up. There they are. There's one set of pictures. And there's another set coming. So the surface is quite deteriorated. The one there was just so you could see the difference in the coating. It's kind of like a painted on coating on top of the asphalt. But those are the cracks. Just some of the pictures. I sent council several more than this. But these were some of the more extensive ones that I thought we would share.
Mr. Morrison? And we've only had one.
We only had one, the $74,425. This is the second time we've been to bid with this. The first time we tried to do resurfacing, some fence work, and some lighting work, and we got 0 bids. So this time we cut back and only did the resurfacing, and this was the bid we got.
Both courts, no fence work.
Correct. And I'm pretty sure we'll have to take down the fence that's there and try to put it back up for them to get in and pave. So.
Are we capable? Can we do that?
It's not going to be easy, but I can try to get it down. I don't know when I start taking it down, it may not be in a condition to go back up. I don't know what the bottom of the posts look like and things of that nature. So,
Yeah.
The original plan was to redo it all, resurface it, and redo the fencing and do the lighting. But, as you can see, this is quite a bit of money just for the resurfacing.
Is the lighting even bad? I mean, I see these cracks. I'll be honest with you. I am not a tennis expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I look at these and I'm like, I'm afraid there might be a little liability issue here. I have even had some citizens say the tennis courts are in pretty rough shape. So, do the lights need to be done, or is it? I mean, surfacing seems like while this does seem like a high number, I think this is. I want to see that. Those 2 tennis courts used, and they're not going to get used unless we do something. So we need to either, in my opinion, we either need to fix it and pay the rate to fix it, or we need to close it. It's getting to a point where I think it's a liability. If someone twists an ankle, I could easily see that being an issue.
The lights aren't even functioning right now. So.
Lights aren't functioning. So maybe that's part 2. I don't know.
Well, I see a lot of people using those tennis courts, but I also see the possibility of an accident as well. So I might be the only one thinking like this, but when we did phase 1 of the property that what we called our new park, we spent $500,000, $600,000, or beyond that. I think we're going to have to spend some money to get this tennis court usable, and maybe some more money to get the dog park in, and maybe some more money to do something over at Bilbrey Park. There are needs that we have that need to come before doing a second phase in the muddy swamp over there. So if I had real confidence we could get the fence down and get it up, I think if we table it and come back later, we may not get any more bids. So I guess what I'm going to do is just go ahead and make a motion that we get this resurfacing and repair done to give people an opportunity to play tennis in Oakwood.
I'd second that motion. I agree completely. I think we need to use it. I think citizens are asking for it to be repaired. And I assume they have this in their bandwidth of being able to do a tennis surface. I know there's there's a specific surface. This isn't just asphalt, right?
No, we bid it as such for tennis court, so.
Good. Technically after, but I mean, if you have a comment, did not. This doesn't, I mean, this technically doesn't need comment. I mean, I'm happy to take a comment if you want to make one.
Tennis experience.
Oh, perfect.
Dan
You're now the
Taylor.
expert.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America, and you can see there are pickleball. People have tried to play out there. They've lined the courts. Dan Taylor, by the way, all good citizen. And so I would just tell you that I went out there and also today, and as far as it being a hazard, it's always play at your own risk, and you can have run it by legal and have them put up a sign if you want. I've played on many courts that are much worse. In particular, if the ball hits a crack, it's a let. Players know that. They just play over. You just, say, oh, bad bounce, and you play over. It's a friendly sport. Nobody's giving away prize money. So I would just say that, in your resurfacing, and I think you could actually, looking at it myself, I'd say you could get away with patch and repair. I talked with Roy about this a year ago and said, give me a gun and the supplies, and I'd go out there and patch it up. But, that's just me. Patch, repair, repaint, it would look really good. But I would say you probably want to accommodate official-looking pickleball courts, because people who laid them on with tape, duct tape, and so it's duct tape residue that's lined them out. It's kind of, and the thing about it, as we get older, I'm playing pickleball now like everyone else in the country because, I'm sorry to take up time, because you don't have to go as far to get the ball because it's a smaller court. Well, when you play it on a tennis court, you got to go even further to get the ball. So the way they lay out the modern courts is they'll put two on a tennis court and use the net as the barrier in between and bring in a portable net. So I'm just, I think we need to think about it some before we just say, get some guy to come in and resurface and put the same thing we had down there. And I would say if you do the pickleball, maybe a small 3-foot fence through the middle of the courts so people can play, because there's a lot more ball. It is the fastest growing sport, and you can accommodate 4 times as many people playing pickleball as you can doing tennis. Now, there are people playing, and we've had to, grandson and I, go to Cookeville to play because there's only people playing on the 2 courts. So there are people out there, and it's like Ron said, playing, and they're, it's convenient to the apartments across the way. That's a great place to have it. And I talked with Keith about the tree out there, which could cause further complications. There's a big oak tree. Could cause further complications with the concrete because it's getting quite large. It's in the northeast corner near the train tracks. So, and it causes a lot of shade on the court, which will cause mildew. So, but the major cracks are not in the playing area. They either run along the net or they run between the courts, and the other cracks are workable. I think they can be. I made a comment last night about they may be uneven when they're repaired, but I don't think so. But a paint job wouldn't be bad either. So sorry to interrupt it. I think you could probably come up with a much cheaper paint, accommodate pickleball, and even put a net fence between, a small fence, not a huge one, just to keep balls from rolling. And come up with, I'll work with Roy if you want. Roy, okay, sorry.
Thank you,
Vice
Mr.
Mayor
Taylor.
Hill, I just want to say I agree with you. I have not been to the tennis courts and have not seen this until Mr. Morrison put these pictures up here, but that crack runs the length of the court and it's across the playing lines, and that is a hazard, and you all need to fix that and close that.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
We've been looking for much cheaper for months and months. We've had $400,000 and $500,000 quotes. I'd hate to see it get to the point that we say we have to shut it down completely. That could happen.
Can we do the electric ourselves, Keith?
Yeah, we can do the electric ourselves. We just been holding off trying to figure out what we want to do before I start diving into it. I didn't want to start investing money and us decide to redo the whole thing.
When was this surface original? Was this original surface? Has this been resurfaced before?
I can't remember the last time it's been resurfaced.
If you can't remember it, it's been a while.
It's been there since the 70s and 80s.
Oh my.
I think it has been resurfaced once, but I don't.
Yeah, one time I think they painted it.
And then about 8 years ago, they come in and tried to
Asphalt on it.
pressure wash it and clean it up. May have painted it a little bit.
I don't recall it, but I mean, could we incorporate some pickleball lines, or I don't know how that even works. Again, I'm not the tennis or pickleball expert. I know people do use it for tennis. I've had a few tennis players come tell me that they appreciate, they like the courts and they use them. Can they also, is that a thing they can do to pickleball on tennis court? From what Mr. Taylor's saying, maybe they can incorporate that into the $74,000.
Originally, we were planning on dual purpose. I'll have to look back and look how we had the bid wrote out. And it may have been that way again, that it was to be dual purpose when they got done. But
Any other comments? I personally, that surface looks rough. I'm concerned from a liability standpoint. It would be awesome if we had, our citizens would use it. I know it, a little pickleball scene up there on brand new surface, new lines. It'd look great. $75,000, that's a tough pill, but it would get people using it. We could approve it now. How long before we could have them working on it and have it done?
I'm sure they'd get it scheduled within a month, depending on weather.
Getting it scheduled means it gets done when?
I'd have to get with them. I don't know what their schedule looks like. They didn't give me a timeline. Our plan was to have it done by June the 30th. So,
Understood. Any other comments? Mr. Graves made the motion to approve the award of $74,425 to Copeland DRP to resurface, redo. I have made the second to that motion to resurface, and I would just piggyback on that. Let's at least talk about pickleball, and sounds like Mr. Taylor has volunteered to be the subject matter expert on all things pickleball, or at least be a resource to us. That's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Honorable Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Graves.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Thank you all. Motion carries. That's a motion. Item number 5 carries. Item number 6, consider approval to appoint Walt Bradshaw as Public Works Director. Mr. Morrison, you want to speak on that, or is that self-explanatory?
my recommendation that we reinstate Mr. Bradshaw as the Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. I personally agree with Mr. Morrison, and I'll make the motion to approve Walt Bradshaw as the Public Works Director.
Second.
So motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Honorable Graves,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
No.
Vice Mayor Hill.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you all. Hey, we're at the end of the meeting. No more items on the agenda. Mr. Morrison's report.
There are a couple things here. We have had a road flooding issue at the White Plains Academy. We've got it under control at the moment. We've got some big holes dug out, so we did authorize an emergency repair at that location. And what has happened is we have got a tile that collapsed that is probably about 25 to 30 foot deep and had to be replaced for about 250 feet. And so we're having to put a junction box in that was beyond our ability to do and the equipment that we had. So we did hire a contractor, Mac Construction, which had already done Big Mac Drive. So they had previously done bid work for us. That project was estimated at $94,525, and we did go ahead and get them started due to the fact of road flooding and the possibility that if the flooding continued, it could affect Bradley Court Station and the school that was having issues with the parking lot. So that project is underway. May the 3rd, the software update will continue, so City Hall will be available by phone, but we will not be available to access customer accounts again or take payments due to the unavailability of the software system. And Mr. Phipps is out, but the dog park fence is ordered, and he was getting the check cut and getting it delivered. So we're working on getting that rolling, and we'll have that going. Department heads, do you have anything else?
So we implemented and started initiating the distribution of pre-planned forms to local commercial properties. This is going to help us identify any hazards on scene and enable us to come up with a framework for response in case we have to go out there. In conjunction with Public Works, we started identifying and doing some hydrant testing flows that's sorely needed, and so we've started work on that as well.
The only thing I have is if you've driven by City Hall today, saw a lot of different patrol cars. We're hosting a advanced DUI school here. It's today and tomorrow. There's 22 officers from the Upper Cumberland region up here training inside this room here.
Good stuff. Thank you. Last item on our agenda, hearing of citizens' delegations. Anybody speak now? Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
He had no idea I'm going to do this. I've had the hardest time finding a place to get out of the way, make my little notes. But Keith doing a great job, and we appreciate you. Council, you're doing a great job. And I've always told the employees when I come in, I'm not here to undermine any of them because I feel like they're all friends. And as these have been asked to tell what they're doing each month, you'd be surprised how people appreciate it. Because they were saying, we go out and we don't even know what they're talking about. Thank you. Now, what I do want to say, Dale, you're doing a great job as our chief. We really do appreciate you. And I'll just go on to tell the other. He was at our house when this happened to Ronald. he set up, called David. I asked if David was working. Who do you think showed up? They did. Dale went with Ronald to the hospital, stayed with him, showed his badge, and got to go in and stay full time with him in there till, of course, he had to come out. But this is to tell you what kind of people we have working here. David, you do a great job. Your little girls. But we are so appreciative that we have you. And, oh, there's Walt. You were missing that night. Have a good feeling, I know. But you're not a good actor. You didn't fool me, though. And I appreciate your honesty. And then we have Roy. Roy's not here tonight. Roy sat there, he told what they were planning to do in the parks. And you're not the only long-winded one. This is all the good. Then the lies again. Never sat in a place to hear such lies being said to a person that I'd been married to for 64 years. The line? I don't think so. Another thing is Dale's wife was at the house, brought food when I got home. People are so good. Some people are so good. I'll put it that way. Some did not care. It's very evident. But anyway, I want to tell you something else that's good. Ron and I have a little great-grandson, 4 years old, in kindergarten. And he was at a place where his brother's a year older could see him through the glass. And the teacher was wanting to move him. So the mother was talking to the kindergarten teacher. And the little boy looked up at her and said, "Jesus sees you." Don't you think we all might rethink what we do? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Graves.
Come on back.
You're not the only.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Flag football. Flag football. Who would have thought?
It's still the fastest growing.
Any other comments? Anyone want to? come forward. Hearing none, thank you all for attending. The next meeting will be, motion and second to adjourn. Everyone stand up if you want to leave. Thank you all.
You'll be all right. You need to gain a little